What's wire hangers doing in this closet when I told you no wire hangers ever?
Hello, everyone. My name is Logan Crow, and I'm the executive director and founder of the Frida Cinema. And that was a little Faye Dunaway's Mommy Dearest as Joan Crawford to get us going. We said our favorite movie moms. We never said these are the people we'd want to have our mothers. So I'm going to dispel that right now. Very excited to have our special guests on with us tonight. This has been their fourth, I think. They might correct me if it's fourth or fifth. I think it's fourth. What's that?
We're counting.
We're counting. Guests with us, the fourth weekend in a row with us, and that is the wonderful Craig and Becca'lise with a special guest tonight. Let's meet our guest tonight. Hello!
Hi.
I see we have our special guest star tonight.
Yes.
Hey. What's that?
This is very unplanned.
That's okay. Hello, Lola. You can speak.
Can you use your words? She's tired. She might get sleepy. Okay.
So Elias says hello, folks. As always with our shows, we encourage you to jump in on our YouTube chat, talk to us about whatever you want, talk to our guests, ask them questions, throw in your own picks for our top 10 list. Colin says Lola. Yes, everyone loves Lola. It's a perfect weekend to have Lola on because it's Mother's Day weekend.
Yay!
So there you go. Look, we got a wonderful.
I'm a mother.
Wonderful mom and child situation. Craig, not your day. I'm sorry, but
it's okay.
But we need you as well. It's good to see the three of you. How you doing, Lola? I see you have your OSHA shirt on. Very cool.
Yay! OSHA Pride.
It had an H in it.
Yeah, they changed it.
Yeah. That's right. Now it's OXA. Correct. They took the high out. So our friends Craig and Becca'lise are with This Cinematic Life, which is an awesome website / online presence that is about all things cinema. This is a art form that is very near and dear to Craig and Becca'lise. Anyone that knows them knows. They love cinema almost as much as they love each other. And they have that in common with us as well, of course, and with me. So it's always a pleasure to talk cinema with them. We've been talking cinema for over 10 years, but only recently on YouTube. So it's been fun to take our many conversations and immortalize them and share them with you every week here on our YouTube channel. It didn't start off that we were going to do it every week, but it's been fun. So we just kept going. Different list every week. So we do it at 9 o'clock because generally that is past Lola's bedtime, but sometimes we're graced with an opportunity to have a cameo appearance by Lola and her pink flamingo.
Yes.
Yay!
It's a direct homage to John Waters.
I was going to say, nice.
Don't worry, she hasn't seen any.
Oh, yeah, this is the fifth one.
Oh my God, and that's another one I forgot. I keep thinking this one's been a tough one, this list, because I keep remembering characters, and right now that I said pink flamingos, I can think of about 3 different divine characters that would have easily made this list that I just didn't even think about. Did you? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I did hairspray. I wish I had added hairspray.
Oh yeah, Mrs. Turnblatt, that would have been great. So what we do every week is we go and do a top 10 list, and we've had fun with sort of the different themes that we've done, approaches that we've done. We've done movies that take us on a trip around the world in response to obviously our current quarantined lifestyles. Then we inverted it, movies that are sort of take place in one location. So for Mother's Day, we thought it would be fun to do our top 10 movie mothers. Now, on my list, how did you approach your list? It's your favorites, correct?
Yeah, like I tried to do good ones and bad ones, like a sort of even mix. I mean, which you can't do with 5, but
mine are all good moms. No, I just went for ones that stood out as I don't know, interesting moms.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I kind of just went with my gut on this one.
Right on, right on. Are there any, I always like to ask, were there any moms that didn't make the list either because they just fell off the list or because, and again, folks, for those who have not been watching any of our focus is always to pick films that you can stream, whether that is for free or, as part of a subscription like to Amazon or Netflix or for pay. So there have been some films that couldn't make our list because they just do not exist on streaming, and then others that just fell off our top 10. Any you want to talk about?
Well, I feel weird that there isn't a single Hitchcock film on here since he's kind of synonymous with mothers.
Sure.
The one that came closest was Claude Rains' mom in Notorious, kind of evil mom. What is Rosemary's Baby?
Ooh.
Pierce, T2, Terminator 2, Kill Bill, Almost Famous, Secret of Nim.
Almost Famous.
Yeah. Exorcist, Poltergeist, Psycho, Home Alone, and Margaret. Those were the contenders that I whittled down from.
And those were ones that barely made it off the list, right? Any that weren't streaming?
No, I think they were all streaming. Like Kill Bill came the closest.
That's a good one too.
But I mean, is it a spoiler to include it in the list? Like,
at this point, yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah, there may be some spoilers. I mean, always with our shows, there may be some spoilers, but we try not to just intentionally spoil anything. But I think that's okay to talk about. Right on. Just barely making off my list. I had an animation multi-tie. I kept trying to decide between animated mothers. There are so many of them, and ultimately I went with one. So my runners up were Eleanor in Brave and Helen Parr in The Incredibles, who may show up later. I did my James Cameron honorary duo. I left Ripley and Sarah Connor off. They just barely made it off the list. Mrs. Bates in Psycho, I just decided counts. Awesome, a mother that I love, and then these are movies that just aren't streaming anywhere. I had Vera Cosgrove in Dead Alive, just one of my favorite horror films, and the mother in that is alternately hilarious and terrifying. Marietta Fortune and Wild at Heart probably would have been my number 2. Diane Ladd, who's incredible. That movie just isn't streaming anywhere right now. David Lynch movie. And what would have been my number 1, and I was all set to have her be my number 1, but you just can't stream the film anywhere, is Rusty Dennis, played by Cher in Peter Bogdanovich's Mask. One of my favorite movies, one of my favorite on-screen mothers. I get something different out of that movie every time I watch it, particularly with her character. If you get a chance, watch Mask if you haven't already. It's extraordinary. The Peter Bogdanovich one from the 80s, 1985, I think it was. Beautiful story, but just not streaming anywhere. So that's why those.
Tried to describe that movie to me once.
Yeah.
Somebody was what the girl I used to know. She was like, "Oh, have you seen that one movie?" She wasn't trying to like trick me, but she was like, "Cher's in it, and she's like this, and I think there's a blind girl." And then I was like, "Does one of the characters have a huge facial deformity?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, that would have helped earlier.
Oh, that she left that out. That was like the last thing, right?
She was just like describing all these other little things, and I finally figured out what movie she meant. I'm like, oh, you kind of left a big part of it.
It's like that Sandra Bullock movie where she plays a mom and she works with George Clooney, right? And they're working on like at work and something, right? And like something hits their
station.
What's that?
It happens to be on a space station.
Oh yeah, they're in space. Yeah, that's funny. Notes on the chat. Will Craig's list include the mom from Possession? Inquiring minds want to find out. We will see.
A spoiler, no.
All right. I put forth Mom Mothma. Mom Mothma.
Oh, it's a Star Wars.
Oh.
Who is that?
Is it Alex?
Yep.
Is it Alex? Yeah,
okay.
How do we know?
To which Colin replies, but Alex, Shmi Skywalker, gave her only child to a strange monk. What does your heart tell you? Yes, Shmi. Poor Shmi. And Laura says, postcards from the edge. Terms of endearment. Terms of endearment almost made my list as well. Shirley MacLaine. I'm assuming you mean Aurora Greenaway, Laura, right? And are we talking about Emma? And why do I know those names? Is it Flap's wife Emma, or is it Aurora Greenaway? Which is it? All right. I love Terms of Endearment. Mask is wonderful. Absolutely. Okay, Laura, you're gonna have to tell us whether you're Camp Shirley or Camp Deborah Winger on this one. Okay, so let's just jump in. I'd love to hear your number 10 favorite movie mother.
Well, let's say goodnight to everybody.
Oh gosh. Good night, dear Lola. You going to sleep?
I hope so.
I hope so.
Can you say goodnight?
All right.
She's stalling because she thinks that I won't do it.
She's having a little Lucy Ricardo moment. She wants to be in the show.
Oh, don't be so sad. Okay.
I feel so bad. We're all such bullies sending the kids to bed.
She's fine. She's gonna sulk a little bit.
Well,
Okay.
while we take care of that, let me just say this is Mother's Day weekend, and mothers out there, we want to wish you all a happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to the grandmas, to our favorite aunties, to the mother figures, to adopted mothers, to foster mothers, to moms, grandmas, to everyone out there who plays a maternal role in someone's life. Not all of us can be with you tomorrow, and it's as difficult for us, trust me, as it is for you when we can't. But we're thinking about you. We love you, moms. It is a very surreal Mother's Day, obviously this year, and I know it's been tough for a lot of people. But we're thinking about you. We always think about you, moms. But we're especially thinking about you this weekend. So happy Mother's Day to all our moms out there. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And to my old mom, love you. All right, so let's jump in with your Mrs. Weasley, yes, from the Harry Potter films. Okay, let's jump in with your number 10.
So number 10, as usual, we're alternating, one back and forth. So there's crying.
You talk.
Okay.
I'll be back again.
So the minute we started, when the idea for mothers came up, I'm all like, oh, I could be pretty cheeky and go with Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy. He made 3 movies over the course of, I think by the end it was almost 30 years, because he did Suspiria, Inferno, and The Mother of Tears, aka The Third Mother. The first 2 came out like back to back, in the late 70s / 1980, I think. They're a trilogy of films about witches. Like there's these 3 very powerful witches. The Mother of Sighs, was it the Mother of Sighs, Mother of Darkness, and the Mother of Tears. And the Mother of Tears one didn't even come out till like the mid 2000s because Inferno, the second one, bombed. But it has its ardent defenders. My friend Vincent is a hardcore Inferno fan. But for me, the great film in Dario Argento's filmography is Suspiria. And, set in Germany in 1977, American ballet companion played by Jessica Harper makes her way to a dance school that happens to also be run by witches. And just gorgeous color and sound and brutal violence, but, in a 1970s, vein.
Yeah.
And, crazy score by the band Goblin. Just all around great. I got to see it at the Frida in the restoration that Synapse did a few years ago. I have the Blu-ray. It's all in all awesome. So
right on. It's a great one, and it's one of the most simultaneously beautiful and just creepy films ever made. And folks, again, on these slides that we are showing, the streaming service that you can watch the film at will be available on the bottom. This one is available on Canopy, which is a great streaming platform, and Canopy is available for free to library card holders and to students. So until recently, you would have needed to be an LA library card holder, but as of I think literally last week, Santa Ana College signed up, so you can go to canopy.com and get a free subscription with your Santa Ana library card. If you don't have a Santa Ana library card, you can literally get one online now without having to go into the library. It is free. And then sign up for Canopy. And again, if you're a student, you can as well. It's a pretty fantastic channel with a lot of great classic films. Not all, but literally quite a lot of Suspiria films, of Criterion Collection films as well.
Sequels.
All right, so starting dark with that one. I like that. My number 10 is a dark one as well. My number 10 is Lily Dillon, played by Angelica Houston in The Grifters from 1990. The Grifters is by Stephen Frears, who directed one of my other favorite 80s films. Actually, this is 1990s, so 80s films, which was Dangerous Liaisons. And it is about a group of hustlers. Basically, it's John Cusack plays a young hustler whose mother is Angelica Houston's character, Lily Dillon, and they come across a really sort of sneaky and manipulative hustler played by, my gosh, why am I blanking on this actress's name? What's that?
Bening?
Annette Bening. Thank you so much. Yeah, wow, that just happened. Played by Annette Bening, and it is basically, the movie is the three of them playing off each other, and really Annette Bening, the girlfriend, let's say, and the mother fighting over John Cusack's character's soul, essentially, as they are, you're in and out of capers and you're in and out of this crime world and these seedy characters that come in and out of the movie. But really it's about the fight for Roy, who's John Cusack, his soul, and the lengths that Angelica Houston goes through. Her character is consistently surprising. There's a maternal nature to her, at the same time that there is a kind of ruthlessness, and never quite could tell how far she'd go. And it's a surprising film. It gets really dark. It's got pitch black humor. I believe she got an Oscar nomination for that, but just fantastic performance as usual by Angelica Houston. So tell us your number 9.
My number 9 is, as you mentioned earlier, Helen Parr, aka Elastigirl, voiced by Holly Hunter in 2004's The Incredibles, which is probably my favorite Pixar movie. It's a really good one. She's a mom. She's a superhero, a literal superhero. And we all know all moms are superheroes, but she's saving the world. And I just always really related to her. She's literally bending over backwards for her kids. And, what mom hasn't felt like we're being stretched and pulled in a million different directions, trying to do it all, she's just, I love her. She's strong. She holds her own. Actually, I watched a really interesting video the other day on YouTube of relationship counselors analyzing Disney movies. And they brought this one up because there's a scene where they're fighting and she stretches herself to make herself taller than him at one point, and they're showing this is fighting, but it's productive fighting in front of because their children show up and they're like, mommy and daddy are still a team. We were having a discussion, and I just like that it's such a real, not real, they have superpowers, but it's a real marriage, and they're dealing with their family, and she's keeping it all together, and I just love her.
Right on.
Yes.
No,
Elastigirl.
She's a great one, and in both movies, really, they give her a lot of material to work with. She's very, very intelligently handled, I think. Colin writes, and Holly Hunter steals her child in Raising Arizona. That is true. Although, listen, the Arizonas had more than they could handle, to be fair.
Yes, so. I did consider it. That was
absolutely. And it's funny. The Piano is one of my favorite movies and almost made the list. Although as I was thinking about it, I'm like, it's interesting. as much as I love that movie, I love everything about it. The her role as a mother isn't one of the things that I respond to the most about that movie. You know, even though obviously both characters are dynamic, the performances are great, they both won Oscars. Ultimately, I'm like, I don't know that dynamic is really what draws me to the movie. So, but she's a fantastic actress with an incredible range, and you know, plays a great cartoon. I agree. My number 9 is the wonderful Dianne Wiest as Peg Boggs and Edward Scissorhands, also from Tim Burton. Just from the moment they first show her driving around selling Avon, she is Tim Burton's encapsulation of the sweet suburban mom, you know, living in a neighborhood that on the surface is cookie cutter and bright and routine. And I think Burton captures stylistically the suburban life and turns it to 11 with like all the dads coming home at the exact same time, and little motifs and visual references that sort of communicate the everyday. And you get a sense that he's really recalling his own sort of suburban upbringing. And then he turns it on his ear and he shows the dark side of what can happen in small towns when a good gesture, you know, like I said, no good deed goes unpunished. And I just love her character. She is she's a strong character, but she's only so strong given, I guess, the village that she's part of. They don't really try to make her, I don't think, heroic so much as her character is very strong. But it's you know, as satirical as her character is written, there's a realism to it as well. Edward Scissorhands makes me sad every time. I think it's a very sad movie, all the more so because she's just so wonderful, and you just see her coming to terms with, I think, as the movie continues, I guess her surroundings and her neighborhoods and who her neighbors are, and her husband, and just a little bit of everything. But you know, with a signature grace, I guess. Dianne in Lost Boys and Parenthood too. Absolutely. She's fantastic as a mom in both. Absolutely. She's a great mom. Late to the party, but hi, says Patty Zone. Hello, Patty.
Hi, Mom.
All right. What's up?
No. My mom.
Yes, you missed Lola's cameo.
She's literally a few feet that way because she is being challenging today. So she's not in her bed. No, about Edward Scissorhands. There's this shot of her I really like where it's like Edward saves the brother from getting hit by a car, and then he's like, there's kind of that mob thing is starting up from just misunderstandings, and it's just her leaving the house, but it's this shot of her and you're like, oh, she's gonna handle this. Like, she just looks really strong coming out of the house, like, what's going on, you know, after hearing all that. And I always give her a little
she's just so great. Yeah, she's fantastic. Oh, Patty says darn. Okay, let's hear your number 8.
Really fast. Lola wants to say hi.
Oh yeah, cool, please.
Say hi to Anita. She's watching you. Say hi. Aww.
Internet connection is unstable.
Oh, fantastic. There we go. Say hi, Anita. Give her bestos. Okay, go back to your couch bed. Manipulating me a lot right now. Okay, you're supposed to be so tired. Lay down, please. Oh my goodness.
Mon Dieu.
Sorry, it's your turn.
So it's up to me. Sleep. Okay.
Yes,
I love you too.
Go to sleep.
Now go to sleep.
I'm sorry. It's all I'm very, very wrong. Stop it. You want to go back to your room? Sorry.
So, pick is 2009's Mother, directed by now Academy Award-winning director Bong Joon-ho. Apparently there's a black and white version of this. I've not seen it. You know, like there's now a black and white version of Parasite also, but you don't need to see it in black and white. Just see it the way it was. But it's the story of a mother. I'd say probably she's in her like late 60s, early 70s, with a sort of special needs adult son.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering if she's drowning
she's
out.
Not.
She can be.
Sorry.
He is arrested for the murder of a young girl in town, and this mother sets out to prove him innocent and investigate and find the real killer. And it gets pretty dark. The mother is played by Kim Hee-ja, a famous Korean actress who Bong Joon-ho wrote the part for. It's probably still my favorite Bong Joon-ho film. Like I've liked pretty much all of them except Barking Dogs Never Bite. And it might, like Parasite is now giving it a run for its money, but Mother's pretty darn great.
Right on. And it's one that it's on that list, man, of movies I have been wanting to catch up with for a while now. I've only heard amazing things. You see it on a lot of best of lists. Obviously the filmmaker is incredible. When I saw, it's funny, when I first saw your list, I noticed it and I'm like, is it exclamation point mother or not exclamation point mother? And then I saw the year. I'm like, oh, okay. But I thought that'd be an interesting pick too. I mean, technically, but what's that?
That was a contentious. No, I don't know. He received the other Mother movie very differently from each other.
That one. So Your Mother, Bong Joon-ho's is on Hulu and Hoopla. So I will definitely check it out. I'm behind on that one. My number 8 packs one hell of an emotional wallop. That is 1942's Mrs. Miniver, directed by William Wyler. Greer Garson plays Kay Miniver, who is the mother of, it's an English family living a really comfortable life in a town outside of London when World War II hits. And it's just one of those movies that you watch from an era where you assume, or you've got an idea that all the acting is a little dramatized, that it's hard sometimes to really feel the stakes and the palpability. But then there's those movies that just sort of are peppered around the 40s, 30s, where maybe the director, the approach was different and everyone feels very real and their pain feels real and everything feels heightened. And you're like, I could transport these performances to modern times and they would feel pretty similar in terms of just guts on screen. She is incredible, Garson, in this movie. The movie, I think, won 6 Oscars. She won an Academy Award, Best Supporting Actress. As the film progresses, she deals with everything from her husband having to go fight the war. At one point, she finds a wounded Nazi and has to decide, what do I do now? Always with, obviously, her first priority being protecting her family. She's taking care of her daughter-in-law, and meanwhile the bombs are dropping. It's an incredible film. I don't think it pulls its punches for being from the early 40s, and it's got a surprising amount of an impact emotionally by the time it's all over. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, catch up with it.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I've never seen it.
We should watch it. It's good.
Yeah, it was spoken of really highly in Mark Harris wrote a book called 5 Came Back, about 5 Hollywood directors who ended up, making propaganda films for the war effort in the 40s. And Wyler was one of the directors covered in that. And so they went in depth on Mrs. Miniver. I think it was the last Hollywood film he made before he went and, started documenting the war.
Right on.
It's been high on my to-see list.
We'll make it happen.
All right.
Well, that one is on, it's not on it's on IndieFlix, which I'm not familiar with, but it's on a channel called IndieFlix. There's so many channels, I swear. Yeah. And it's rentable on Fandango and Amazon. So tell us about your number 6.
My next pick is Molly Weasley, played by Julie Walters in the Harry Potter series, and I love her so much.
Oh, whoops, my bad. I have the wrong slide up, but that's okay.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Thank you.
So she is the matriarch of the Weasley family. She's got like a billion kids. But we really get to see in the books and in the movies, plural, just how lovingly she runs her home. And she has a very like open door policy, like, what, your friend needs to stay with us? All right, they're family now. And yeah, she takes such good care of Harry, who doesn't really have any kind of mother figure to speak of in his life. And she's in almost all of the movies. And by the last battle, she's just like badass, kicking butt. She's got a very, I don't want to spoil it, but she's got a very great like fist pump kind of scene that's very important at the end. But yeah, I love characters like that, and people in real life who are just like, you know what, come here, I'll be your mom for now. My house is your house. And I just love that about her. And she gives Harry Christmas presents and he doesn't get any otherwise. And I think she's just so sweet and awesome. She ends up, oh, she's so nice. And then like, yeah, kill that person. And
Yes.
it's important. They needed to die. But yes, she's awesome. I love her.
I love that that is a series that really, really rewards, because it introduces you to characters that just develop and that you always love, but then they go and pull something that just has you on your feet because you didn't see it. And it's characters that you expect at some point that's going to happen for them, and then characters like where you just do not see it coming and they just do something so awesome. And yeah, by the time she has her, spoiler-free moment, it is one of the most satisfying moments in that entire
she's such a tragic, the battle is so heartbreaking, and the sacrifices and the hardship she in particular has to endure, right? It fuels her big moment to be like, no more. And then pow, and then I won't say what happened, but I kind of did. But yeah, no, it's such a good series. I love the Harry. I'm very much a Harry Potter person. I know what my Patronus is and what house I'm in. I got my gear over there. No, it's just I think she's just such a special character. I was reading because I was seeing, I'm like, is she in every movie? And I was looking up, and I guess she wasn't in Goblet of Fire. And it led me to this article where she was like very hurt that she wasn't in Goblet of Fire. She's like, I hope I'll be back later. I'm like, does she not know what's coming for her character? Like, oh, you'll be back. But yeah, otherwise she's in all but one movie. And it's a very important part of the story, I think.
Love it. Well, my number 7 is just another sort of badass character in terms of just taking care of business. This is a mother who, in the face of her son becoming sick and their house being in danger of destruction, goes to great lengths to make things right. And that is the great Mrs. Brisby from The Secret of NIMH.
Yeah.
Did you know? She had to. I mean, come on. I love this movie so much. Mrs. Brisby is a warrior, man, but look at her. Look how adorable she is. Look at that. Look at that little mouse with her little red shawl. And I have not read the book. I'm so behind on that because for being one of my favorite movies, you would think I'd read the book. But in this movie, she goes through the ringer to basically get her son some medicine initially, and then when the home where her and her family live is in danger of literally being uprooted, she has to basically go into very, very dangerous territories to try to amass help from a variety of characters. And meanwhile, she's being chased by a horrific cat who's a murdering cat. Obviously she's being inappropriately flirted with by a crow who just will not leave her alone. But it's all very cute. And I think she handles that with grace as well. And she's funny and she's spunky and she's not fearless, but she proceeds fearlessly. There's a lot of like that she really expresses, fear, and they draw the terror of everything that she's encountering, and the voice actress performs it well. So they really go to communicate that this is a character who is aware of the danger around her and is terrified. And I think that that's what makes her so extra heroic for me, is that she continues to go on this journey. The movie gets dark, and but it's just a fantastic film, and just one of my favorites. So Mrs. Brisby, she had to be on this list. There was no way around that.
Yes.
I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Really?
I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I remember kind of not really knowing what was going on. Like, I got that there was a sick kid, but I'm like, I feel like there's something else happening here that kind of went over my head a little bit. But
there's a lot. So like NIMH stands for the National Institute of Mental Health, and what that's about is that in one of the film's like core plots, we find out that there was the rats of NIMH. So basically, these rats that were experimented on at NIMH became very, very smart because of the experiments that were done on them, and figured out a way to escape. And then there's like these factions that break off, and there's politics in this movie. It's that's why I want to read the book, because I'm sure the book goes way more into this story. But there's politics, there's murderous characters within their factions, and all this crazy stuff. There's one of those signature traumatic moments for children moments in this movie. Great voice actors, and it's funny. Dom DeLuise as the comic relief character is just so charming and hilarious, and just one of the great animated adventures of the 80s, I think. So definitely worth revisiting. I spoiled your number 6 earlier with my trigger figure here, but go ahead and tell us your number 6.
Number 6, I got Jonathan Demme. Married to the Mob.
Woo.
From 1988, starring Orange County's own Michelle Pfeiffer as Angela DeMarco, a mob wife to Alec Baldwin, and she kind of gets, please no squeezing. She's got a squeaky duck now.
Sorry.
That's okay. We love it. I don't think there's anyone on this chat that minds that Lola is right off screen just a tad.
I'm just concerned that is like screwing up the audio.
Can you hear a rubber duck squeak?
If we do, we're happy to hear it.
Okay.
But no, right now I cannot hear a rubber duck squeak.
I threw a pillow at her.
But Angela DeMarco is fed up with the mob life. Her son is gambling, and finds dad in a kitchen drawer, and so she just like, I'm out, and packs up, moves to the city with the son, and she has to find a job. She's never worked a day in her life, deals with sexual harassment, eventually finds herself working for reggae singer Sister Carol in a hair salon. You got a really eccentric Matthew Modine as an FBI agent. It's the first of 2 Jonathan Demme films to include the song Goodbye Horses.
Yep.
So before he used it most famously in Silence of the Lambs, he also used it for romantic purposes in Married to the Mob. And an amazing performance by Mercedes Ruehl, which should have, they gave an Oscar nomination to Dean Stockwell for The Mob Boss, but she should have gotten one. I think maybe when she eventually won for The Fisher King, it was kind of a makeup for game recognizes game, but it's just a big cartoon of a movie, cool, new wave soundtrack. begins and ends, I think, with a New Order. And just, it's fun. Jonathan Demme friggin' rules. Especially like his run from Melvin and Howard up to Philadelphia. Is he Philadelphia? I don't like it as much as the earlier stuff. Like, I find a few flaws in Philadelphia, but it's still a really good movie.
I'm a huge fan of Beloved. I thought Beloved was fantastic. Manchurian Candidate, I don't know what the hell was going on there, but yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and Married to the Mob and Something Wild have this weird thing in common. They both feel like very David Byrne. like they have his energy. It's weird. And there's a lot of talking heads in David Byrne, I think, kind of in both of them. But yeah, they both have this sort of 80s kind of neon road trip thing going on, but with incredible soundtracks. But yeah, Mercedes Ruehl steals that movie. She's just hilarious in it. Absolutely. And Dean Stockwell, they're all great. Alec Baldwin. From the notes, let's jump on the notes real quick. Yeah, Laura, Jenny Fields in The World According to Garp. Absolutely. And I might be wrong here, but I want to say that's Glenn Close's first movie, which is crazy. I think I remember that. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was her like debut, and it's such a great debut. I saw World According to Garp when I was way too young, but that character made an impact on me. Michelle Pfeiffer is brilliant in this role, says Laura. Absolutely. Her hair alone deserves an award, says Alex. Absolutely. The style in this movie is great. It's sort of like there's a scene in Goodfellas where Lorraine Bracco is her voiceover. She's narrating and talking about the life of a mafia wife. And it's a montage that takes place at a house where all the wives are together and they're just talking and talking over each other. And Married to the Mob is that scene stretched over a movie, basically. But with other elements, it's just so great. It's just such a fantastic movie. I agree. And Goodbye Horses, classic. What's that?
This the off-camera little one. I was playing Goodbye Horses the other day, and she has this little wind-up lamb figure or stuffed animal. And while the song was playing, she's like, "He's crying. He said
he was screaming.
He's screaming.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yes.
Are you sure she didn't you guys were watching it and she was like hiding and watching it? And
the last time we probably watched it was like in the old house, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And she
definitely
slept
was not
upstairs.
present for it.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
It's in their minds already.
Well, next time she's playing with her toys, if she plays can you help me get my couch into my van? Then you know that somehow she got her hands on the movie, and that's it. That's it. You got to be more careful. Again, I'll preface this by saying these are our favorite movie moms that made an impact, not the moms we all wish we had, which takes me to my number 6, which is Mary from Lee Daniels' Precious, played by Monique. This is just about one of the most terrifying characters that I have experienced on film, all the more so because she's written so well and performed so well. This is a broken, narcissistic person like there has rarely been put on film, and then they give that character a daughter. And the way that you want to call her, I'll speak for myself. I by the end of the movie, I felt so terrible for this character, even though throughout the movie, she does terrible things. And she does them ice cold, and she does them, at one point, she literally throws a baby, I don't know, onto the floor. They don't really show, I don't think, where the baby lands. She's horribly abusive to her daughter at every level. And all the while, Monique is just raw and present and just getting under your skin. And then you get this climax, this conversation at the end, which is chilling. I mean, there's just no other way around it. And it's one of those scenes I've just watched over and over again because I just find it so, and I don't know, it impacts me. And I love when someone just performs really, really well, and the dynamics are there, and you get a side of her character from her own words and how she justifies herself and how she takes a pretty egregious sin and contextualizes it through her lens. And what I walk away from is, oh my God, this character is so sick. And you kind of are aware of that as you go along, but it's maybe not a word. You're thinking she's a bee, she's cruel, but at the end, that's what you walk away with. And she's just absolutely incredible. She won an Academy Award. I think she won a host of awards for that performance. Definitely not a mother one would want to be quarantined with. But she's just amazing. Alex says Byrne did the music for Married to the Mob. Is that right? Did he do the soundtrack? Or did he compile the songs? Or
was it? Did he do that one? Because I thought he did something. Well, because I knew he either did it or something wild. So, oh yeah. So I think Byrne did because. Okay, that makes sense. Something Wild's the all pop score.
I'm gonna look it up for you.
Yeah. So Byrne, I think, did, yes, because he did the Wild Thing cover that ends. That ends. Yeah.
David Berg.
Yeah, he did the Wild Thing cover that ended something wild. So then I was kind of like, oh, he did that one, but not. But yeah, Byrne. Thank you, Alex.
Amazing how Demi and Byrne, with Stop Making Sense, obviously, and everything else. And then I was watching a making of Until the End of the World by Wim Wenders, and Wim was talking about David Byrne and his influence on his films, and it's just incredible how he's had this impact on filmmakers. Have you guys seen Contemporary Color?
No, the Color Guard movie that I've been meaning to.
Yeah, as Talking Heads fans, it's fantastic. For those of you who aren't aware of it, it's David Byrne basically put this project together where a bunch of high schools were having their Color Guard year-end competition. So all these different high schools are representing. And what David Byrne did was get a bunch of musicians together, Zola Jesus, something I can't remember, but just this slew of musicians. What's that?
I believe St. Vincent.
St. Vincent, yeah. And Flying Lotus, I think, is in there. And he basically had them write original music that the Color Guard teams, do these routines to. But when they did the routines, they did them to the recorded versions of the songs. They haven't heard them live. And then the night of the big show, all these different artists get together and perform the pieces live as the dancers do their routines, and the cameras are like right there with the dancers, cutting back and forth between them and the singers. So you get not only the performance, but they're hearing this live music at the same time as they're dancing to it. So there's a lot of emotion, a lot of teary eyes. It's an incredible movie, obviously incredible dancing, fantastic stuff. Laura says, yeah, Mary from Precious, she's damaged goods, heartbreaking. Absolutely. So yeah, Contemporary Color, you got to check it out. What is your number 5?
My number 5 is a kind of a lesser seen little gem we found a couple years ago, and we just revisited it this week. It's really good. It's a movie called Princess Sid from 2017. And the mom in question isn't really a mom, it's her aunt. So Sid is a teenage girl who comes to stay with her aunt in Chicago. And at first they're kind of not at odds, but they just don't really relate to each other at all. The aunt, so her name is Miranda Ruth. She's an author, a well-known published author. And she's just struggling at first to connect with her in any kind of way. She's like, oh, you don't care about what I'm talking about. And she's trying. And the teenage girl is really just sort of exploring who she is as a person, her sexuality. She has relationships with men and women. And the relationship between her and her aunt just grows into one of just mutual respect. It's so good. She she's very non-judgmental. She's very supportive of her, and they just really come to have this really close bond. Yeah, the actress Rebecca Spence plays Miranda, the aunt, and she gives this really lovely speech at one point about the uniqueness of happiness, and it comes after a moment where the Sid kind of mouths off, and not in a, she didn't mean to hurt her feelings, and you kind of expect this like tear down of like, listen here, you whippersnapper kind of, but it's such a beautifully delivered speech of like, we all find happiness in different things, and don't invalidate what makes me happy because you can't connect with it, because we're all individual people. And I just love the relationship. And Sid doesn't have a mother, and you find out in the film why, and it's really tragic. But you just come to see, even though Sid's kind of like even keel, she doesn't seem to have any strong emotional, she has emotions obviously, but it's really subtle. When you see things affect her, she kind of keeps it all buried down, but you find at the end how much this relationship has come to mean to her. And it's a really great underrated movie. I don't hear talked about at all.
I've never heard of it. Yeah,
it's on Hulu. I really recommend it. It's kind of not really Call Me by Your Name vibes, but a little bit. In terms of like the father's relationship in that to his son, of just like, this is your life and explore it, and I'm not going to judge you, kind of a thing. It's kind of a similar relationship with the aunt and the girl in this. Can't recommend it enough. It's really, really good and touching.
Right.
And yes, there's lots of sexy sex in it. So you're whatever about it, but not you, Logan. Not you. But
right on.
But no, it's really good, and I can't recommend it enough. It's really, really great performances, and I haven't really seen anybody in the movie go on to do much else, or maybe I'm just not paying attention, but everyone's really great in it, and yeah.
Well, like I've said before, there's always one on your list that I have not heard of, and that's true this week as well. That is not a film I'm familiar with, so I'll have to check it out.
I don't hear about this movie at all. I don't even know how we stumbled upon it, but it's...
I think I'd been hearing good things, and it was on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it was for a while. But luckily it's on Hulu, so it's still watchable. Yeah.
Cool.
It's just really great, like, artsy, literary, it's just really feel good. Like, you want to live in that world. Like, the aunt has these parties with all of her, like, book friends, and, she invites this teenage girl into that world with her, which is something I really respond to in movies with parents. Like, let the young people in, like, expose them to your interests, and I like it. I like it a lot.
There's a great line in Mrs. Doubtfire when Robin Williams says to the head of the studio, when the head of the studio is talking about, I can't quite figure out how to do children's television right, and he says, don't talk down to them, just talk to them, which I always thought was great. And yeah, it sounds like that's what you're saying, like that when you've got adults that just talk to kids and they're not talking down to them, there is a huge distinction. I love characters like that as well. Before I get to my number 5, folks, just a quick reminder that the Frida Cinema is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We rely on support from film lovers like yourselves, and especially now more than ever, while we continue to have our doors temporarily closed. Your donations mean a lot. They are essentially really the only income that we've got right now, but we are doing amazing things with it. Beyond obviously wanting to make sure that we are sustaining ourselves and planning for our reopening, we're keeping busy. We are putting streaming films out online. This Friday, just yesterday, we opened more films at one time than we ever have. They're all streaming. They're all on our website, which is thefridacinema.org. If you get a chance, go to our website, thefridacinema.org. Right on top, you'll see a grid of films. All of those films are available for you to rent today when you Click on a link, you'll get a trailer, you'll get a synopsis, and when you rent the film, half of your rental income goes straight to us, keeps us going. The other way you can support us is with your donations. You can visit thefridacinema.kindful.com. That is our direct donation gateway, or you can send a text the word film to 714-276-6080. You'll receive a link right back. Click on that link and it'll talk you through the donation process. We rely on your support, and we are continuing to keep our virtual streaming program going. As soon as we can reopen, we will let you know. We've already gotten a lot of emails. Hey, things are starting to reopen. Do you have a date yet? We do not have a date yet. We want to be careful. We want to make sure that when we reopen at a time and in a method that is as safe as possible for you, for our volunteers and our staff. So keep posted. But thank you for your support in the interim. My number 5, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm calling it the Ellen Burstyn tie. My number 5 is tied between her role as Chris MacNeil in 1973's The Exorcist. She is an incredible mother in this film. She is an actress who is in Washington shooting a film. She brings her young daughter along, and as we all know, her young daughter begins to become possessed by a demon. Ellen Burstyn's character, Chris MacNeil, goes through every length imaginable to try to help her daughter. It is raw. It is a tearful, gritty. Her voice is strained. She's literally hurt. The actress was literally hurt on the set of this film, just bringing so much ferocity to it. She is the mother everyone would want to have if they were possessed by a demon. Right? I mean, it's true. Was it 27 years later? Am I doing my math right? She would go on to play another mother who is tortured, who maybe you would not, I guess, possessed by her own demon in that movie, which is Sarah Goldfarb in Requiem for a Dream by Darren Aronofsky.
I thought you were with Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Alice Doesn't Live. That's another great one, and but it could have been a triple, honestly. But in terms of like my favorite movie moms, this is one of my favorite performances of all time, if not maybe my second favorite performance of all time. She is phenomenal in this movie. I think that if the studio had pushed her for Best Supporting Actress instead of Best Actress, she would have taken home an Academy Award that year. As it was, she was up against Julia Roberts, who carries the entirety of Erin Brockovich on her shoulders, and I think does an amazing job. Requiem for a Dream is very much cut between Sarah's journey and her son's journey, his son's girlfriend and their friend. Even though we get a lot of Sarah, she probably, I think, gets probably more screen time than her son and the other characters. I've never looked that up, but just an incredibly, incredibly ferocious performance. There is a scene in that movie that is probably one of my favorite just scenes ever, in a kitchen where she is talking to her son. She is has been taking these diet pills, and she is showing symptoms of just being very hopped up on diet pills. And she delivers a monologue that I don't know who doesn't immediately want to hug their mother after this scene, but it's a brutal scene that goes right to the heart. That's hard to watch, and just always just paints a very, very raw and uncomfortable light on being a mom whose children have up and grown and have left the house, and I think she verbalizes maybe what a lot of people feel, and it's a beautifully done scene, and she just had to be on the list for that. Very sad movie. I will warn anyone who hasn't seen Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
I went to see it at a Matt's Movies KCRW screening before it opened, and I'll never forget the person who introduced it said, you're all in for an incredible film, yada yada, and at the end he said, okay folks, so thank you for coming and enjoy Requiem, and then he stopped himself. He goes, enjoy is not the right word, ladies and gentlemen, Requiem for a Dream, and then he stepped out. Yeah, because it's just not it's not an enjoyable film, but it is a compelling and incredible film. Let's see. McGee Dazal says, I nominate The Sound of Music and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. Same same story, different locale. There's an essay. I like that. That might be an essay for an intern one day. And then Christopher says, Requiem, great choice. The heroine using moments used to give me nightmares. Yeah, the whole movie is nightmare fuel. It is so intense, but incredibly well done, and so incredibly well acted as well.
Yeah.
What is your next pick?
Next up, it's back to me. Mothra versus Godzilla, 1964, directed by Ishiro Honda. As I think this is my third Godzilla movie I've recommended.
Gonna work it into any possible topic.
3 out of 5. That's not all of them.
Well, and Lola likes the Godzilla movies too. So
Yeah, you do. Do you like Godzilla?
Yeah. Yay.
You go.
That's been big time father-daughter bonding. I thought she was going to interject something.
She looked like she's about to.
Yeah. But that one was a unique experience because that one, I showed it to her early in her Godzilla love, and she had already bonded with Godzilla. Godzilla was her guy. But in Mothra versus Godzilla, Godzilla is kind of the heel. He's the bad guy. And so, Mothra's egg washes ashore in Japan, and the little twin girls, the Shobijin, are trying to get people to return the egg. And, then Godzilla shows up and wants to eat the egg. And so Lola was totally team Godzilla and was saying, nom, nom, eat that egg. She was wanting Godzilla to eat Mothra's egg. But then, you get, Godzilla battling, Mothra battling Godzilla to protect this egg. So you got this fierce mother figure, and then the egg hatches and you got the little silkworm babies. And so that was another identifying character for her. So there was all these conflicting emotions. I like Godzilla, but there's this mommy and then there are babies and it was probably the full gamut of emotion for this little one.
I don't think I'm ready to see Godzilla play a villain. That's disturbing.
Well, yeah, up until Godzilla versus the first time Godzilla fought Ghidorah, that was when they they noticed that he's got a youth following, and so they kind of started pitching the series more in a kid-friendly direction, making.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
But made Godzilla more of a hero.
Yeah, those are the ones I grew up on.
For about the first 4 to 5 films in the series, he was.
I have to catch up on my Godzilla films. I've seen the first one where obviously he was, King Monster villain, and then I've seen a lot of the later ones. But does Lola have a favorite Godzilla movie?
You have a favorite Godzilla movie? No?
We got a shrug.
Got a shrug.
A shy little shrug. Where are you going?
Fair enough.
You. But Godzilla. Right, all aces in my book.
Very cool. My number 4 is Diane Freeling in Poltergeist.
Wait, hold on.
This is a Mothra.
Oh gosh, what do we got? Hold on, let me get you guys back on screen so people can wait just a moment. Oh wow!
Fetch Mothra.
Yeah, Mothra was on the fridge, so she heard us.
Yay!
Thank you.
Is that it's a magnet?
No, it was. She had a Godzilla themed 4th birthday party.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So on the cake we had little paper cutouts of Godzilla and Mothra on toothpicks decorating the cake. So it's a paper decoration left over from the birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, she heard us and wanted to show you our little Mothra.
Rick says Momthra. I like that. Momthra.
A Mothra pinata, Godzilla cookie decorating station.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool.
When did she get her David Lynch birthday?
Was starting to come out a little bit.
Oh, the pinata? That's how
it was a Mothra pinata.
Yeah. Then you hit him with a stick and the candy falls out. It's the best invention ever.
And then Poppy fixed it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we saved the pinata. It's decorating her room now.
Very nice.
painted it to look like Mothra. We used a butterfly pinata, and she painted these panels that we could attach to it, so it actually had the coloring. It looked like Mothra because we can't go halfway.
No, absolutely not. Well, very cool. Oh, look at her. Oh, she's so cute. That's okay.
Lola, put Mothra away.
What is that? Could she make Mothra sounds?
What does Mothra sound like? What does Godzilla sound like? All right.
Love it.
Sorry, what was your...
It's all right. That's okay. Trust me, I am sure everyone would rather see Lola do her thing than see a picture of JoBeth Williams screaming in the rain in Poltergeist.
He mentioned Poltergeist, and I was like, oh, I wanted to do Poltergeist. I should have, but we didn't. So I'm glad it made the list, someone's list.
Yeah, this was how should I put it? Like, there are certain movies that when you're growing up and you're a kid, somehow the family from the movie sort of becomes your family, or there's just a connection you have when you're a kid to certain like characters or families where I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I watched Poltergeist quite a lot when I was a kid. My sister and I were huge fans of this movie, and I love this set of parents. I love these two, and JoBeth Williams is fantastic in this film. Here's another mother who is very human. It is pointed to several times throughout the film that she is young. I think they go out of their way to really point out this is a young couple who have 3 kids. I want to say their oldest kid is 15, and when you do the math, at one point they all talk about I want to say that the mom may have been 14 or 15 when she had her, but it's not a plot element. It's just brought up. And then at one point the parents are in bed getting high, in a PG movie, I might add, talking about their past and just talking about the father-in-law, and it's just so well written. They're really defined when the house suddenly becomes attacked by malevolent spirits and all hell breaks loose. And she is, take no prisoners, protect the kids mom. She goes through a lot to keep her kids safe, starting with watching her son almost get eaten by a tree and then going downhill from there. But she keeps going. And there's even one scene which I love as a visual sort of thing. After she's just had to deal with a lot, she is just continuing to make her way upstairs to save her kids. They're screaming. She is hit with every sort of monster, whatever. She's just going. She gets to the top of the stairs, and you have this vertigo shot where the hallway just extends in front of her, and she has maybe a beat of noticing it, but just starts running. And as she's running, the thing just keeps stretching. She's just running faster. And after a while, the way the camera's framing it, she is outrunning the room stretching to the point where the room just suddenly starts to snap back into place because she's just going, and she makes it to the door. And it's just, I think it's a great visual for basically what her character does the whole movie, which is just when her kids are in danger, she's in mom mode, she's going. And at the end of the day, she's the hero of the film. Dad shows up in the car, I guess, to get them out of there, but she's in the house. I mean, she's the one getting out of the, crawling around the ceiling and doing what she needs to do to get her kids out. So, love that character. Love JoBeth Williams in that movie. Just love the grace she brings to that character, the humor she brings to that character. Just fantastic performance, fantastic film.
I love this movie, Poltergeist. It's funny because I've seen it a million times, and I remember watching it at one point with my mom, and there's a scene where after Carol Ann's gone, that she kind of feels this wind, and she goes, I felt her, I can smell her. And my mom was crying, and I'm like, why are you crying? And
it's such an emotional scene though. Moms know, right? Yeah.
ever since, like now when I watch it and I get to that scene, I start crying and I think of my baby, and it's just like, oh, I'm like, all right, sorry I gave you a hard time, Mom. But yeah, no, I get it. Like I was, yeah.
And she's so elated by that she starts walking around the room and pushing. She's got a sweater tied around her neck, pushing the fabric into people's faces, going, smell, smell. And at one point, she does it to the doctor, Beatrice Straight's character, who doesn't know. She's never met her daughter. She couldn't possibly, but she's just so, and she just kind of nods and smiles at her because she's just so like that was her, like absolutely, that she just passed through me. She passed through me, right? Is what she says first. Yeah. It's an amazing moment. Giselle says Dianne was so awesome, except for the laughing at the sexual harassment of her daughter. Oh, the 80s. She was 32 and the daughter was 16. That's yeah. So there you go. Patty says, I love that. See? Yeah. Yeah, there is that scene where, well, I think she's watching and she sees her daughter hold her own. She should have kicked the gentleman out of her house. Absolutely. Or the men, I should say. But yeah, what you get is a smile from her that her daughter sort of stuck up for herself and in her own way. But yeah, no, that is an interesting scene.
There's a little line at the end about the hotel or the motel. Do you remember that part? So the mom is telling, it's after the first craziness before things go really crazy.
Yeah.
And the mom tells her daughter, oh, we're going to be staying at the Motel 6 or wherever, and the daughter goes, oh yeah, I know that place. What? And she's like, what? And then they just move on. I'm like, no, Mom, follow that up. Red flag.
Yeah, it's like, the dad catches her on the phone at night and just does the very minimal of get off the phone. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't watch her hang up, doesn't make her hang up, just off the phone now. She's going to be back on the phone. No, she's she was great. Was there something else about? Oh yeah, and then earlier in that scene, the same guys that are harassing her reach into the window and just take a big helping of the sauce she's making right off of the spoon, and she barely reacts to that too. Like, anyway, interesting. All right, so. And actually, you know what? Sorry, now that's got me thinking. So one of my film professors, I'll always remember, really drilled a point home that has really helped me, and has been fun when I watch movies. One point he said, really consider that there's nothing accidental in movies. And he's like, you guys have been making your student films. You know how long it takes to line up a shot and get everyone together and make sure the food is in, the lighting, blah, blah, blah. He's like, it's a huge ordeal just for your student films. He's like, imagine a studio film, imagine any other production. Every shot takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. Apply that when you're watching movies. And when you see what feels like a throwaway scene or just something random or a shot, ask yourself, why was this important? Everything is important, And so now that we're talking about this, now I'm thinking about what was up with that scene where the guys are harassing her daughter and she does the arm thing and Joe Beth smiles. And then right before that, the guy reaches in through the window and is helping himself to the sauce. And she's just like, get out of here, Bluto. I forget what she says. I'm going to have to play with that because they're both awkward, weird scenes, but I wonder what it is about her reaction to both that we're supposed to take away from that. And then, flushing the little dead bird, all the stuff that they give us about her character and how she's interacting with her kids specifically. Anyway, Colin, it's already on our list. And Colin says, oh yeah. Oh, Poltergeist. Yeah, no, that's, yeah. Always a fun watch with a group too. You're number 3.
Whose turn is it? Oh, it's my turn. Oh, this is great. Talking about this movie with a 4-year-old in my lap. 1994 Serial Mom.
Yeah.
John Waters. Gosh. Okay. Earmuffs. No. So Serial Mom is about a very Martha Stewart-esque, like perfect happy homemaker mom, played amazingly by Kathleen Turner. And it turns out she's also a serial killer for the most hilariously petty reasons ever. Like, you didn't recycle, or you stood up my daughter. So I was trying to only include not good, I wouldn't say good moms, but people that didn't actively hurt their children on this list. And I'm like, she does care about her own kids, other people's kids, not so much, but it's so funny. It's really messed up. And she just is this very, very perfect on the outside, but she's got this really warped sense of just, like I said, like, you haven't been rewinding your tapes at the video store. So are you wearing white after Labor Day? It's
fashion has changed.
No, it hasn't. And then it turns into a big. It ends up being about sort of our obsession with.
You're making funny faces.
We are making funny faces. It turns into a big spectacle when she gets arrested, and it becomes like, buy the t-shirts, our obsession with making celebrities out of monsters. But it's dark and twisted, but it's very funny. It's what are you doing? She's holding up the pink flamingo for John Waters.
Look at that. No, it is hilarious. She's incredible in it. It is funny. I mean, it is just so funny. It has its gross moments, and it's violent. But I mean, the scene where the woman lick mommy's feet and she's watching Annie and she's got oh my God, like that movie is just fantastic. The Don Knotts, just a lot of little moments. What's up?
Stole in that movie cracks me up. She's like
the crank calls. Oh my God. Wee wee. It's just so great. So my number 3, in keeping with the same idea of darkness, someone who is actually very, very mean to her daughter, that is Joan Crawford in Mommy Dearest, by Frank Perry, 1981. Not much to say about this film outside of it is obviously, as they called it then, the mother of all bad movies. Mommy Dearest, I will say one thing, and I will say this to my dying day. Faye Dunaway is phenomenal with the material she's given to work with. It's just the movie itself, everything about it, the way it's shot, the screenplay, what it goes after, how sensational it is it's cheesy. It feels like a TV movie of the week. She's driven to hysterics nonstop, but you can't argue that she is just ferocious in this role. She's terrifying. I mean, and for all of our jokes about the film, when you watch it without the context of knowing it's a quote unquote cult film, like when I would watch it as a kid, because for whatever reason I watched it a lot as a kid. She was scary. I mean, she was legitimately scary, and she's still scary, and she's raw, and she's just there, and I always wonder, somewhere out there, I wonder if she looks at it as, I don't see how people tear this apart because I brought my all. I feel you brought your all. I think it's fantastic. It is again not a mother you'd want to be quarantined with. Not a good mother. But obviously based on Christina Crawford's autobiography about her growing up as the adopted child of movie legend Joan Crawford, and Joan Crawford, another narcissistic, but also very, very wounded character who's just cruel throughout the entire movie. But something else about her is there are these moments where you see that she really does care about Christina. Like and that's got to be intentional, and that's got to be Joan Crawford. I mean, there's one scene where towards the end, it's another scene where she's drunk and Christina has to kind of lift her up and walk her to the bed, and Joan Crawford's kind of in and out of it, and she's like leaning on Diana Scarwood, who plays Christina's head, and she kind of wakes up. She has a moment of whatever, she's snapping back into it, sees that it's Christina, and she just gets this big smile across her face and just keeps saying Christina darling over and over again with this like smile. And it's like, it breaks my heart every time, because I'm like, what I'm getting from this moment is they're really trying to point out, whether this is based in reality or not, that in this movie this is someone who actually does care about her daughter, but is just so sick and so narcissistic that she can only care so much, and at moments before it's just all gone and it's all about her again. But just a fascinating character. Patty asks, what movie are you talking about after Poltergeist? It sounds disturbing to watch as a mom. That would be Serial Mom, right? I think, was that after Poltergeist?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was. It's
You'll have to watch it.
It's a dark comedy. If you can look at it as a comedy, it's a blast. Otherwise, it's very disturbing and not fun at all. So, but yeah, Serial Mom's a great one. What's your number 2?
Number 2, my favorite film of 2016. Was it Mike Mills' 20th Century Women? Just really awesome film centered on an awesome performance by Annette Bening, who was criminally not even nominated. The only nomination the film got was Best Original Screenplay. Bening should have been nominated and won. She's a mother of a young boy in Santa Barbara in 1979. And she, kind of realizes that, she, as a single mother, she can't do this alone. And so she kind of, there's a female friend of the boys, and a girl who is boarding with them, staying in a room in their large house. And she's like, I'm his mom, he's different when he's not around me. I'll never get to see that. But you guys see that boy. Can you be kind of my eyes and ears and help make sure that he becomes a good guy, and just really awesome film, so Annette Bening, and then you got Elle Fanning as the female friend of the boys, and Billy Crudup as kind of a handyman that helps with the house. And it's very much based on Mike Mills' own upbringing. It's a kind of a companion piece to his film before this, Beginners, because Beginners was his dad movie about his actual relationship with his father, who came out of the closet in his 70s, and their relationship. And then, this is his mom movie. And they kind of really work together, have a similar style with lots of cutaways and contextualizations and voiceover and stuff like that, but not too hyperbolic in it's not a in your face way, and a really awesome soundtrack. Taking it back to Burn, lots of talking heads. The trailer. The trailer was to, I believe, Big Country by Talking Heads. Lola's gonna get braids.
Yeah.
I want to know.
But yeah, just got lost in the end of the year or whatever, because it was one of those, it came out in 2016 technically to qualify for Oscars, but it was really out in 2017. Because I remember the weekend of the Women's March, the initial post-Trump win Women's March, was its first big week in theaters, and they A24, I believe, is the distributor, and they wanted to capitalize on that. And so they said that a portion of the proceeds of that opening weekend would go towards Planned Parenthood. So that was really awesome for an awesome film. And yeah.
I remember when it came out. I just have not gotten around to seeing it, but I remember when it came out, it got a lot of good reviews, and she was also fantastic. Did you ever see Running with Scissors?
No. Yeah, Ryan Murphy's. Yeah,
she's an incredible actress, and another one that just kept getting nominated, but she still has not won. Correct?
No, and she lost twice to Hilary Swank.
Yeah, no, she's a fantastic actress.
No problems with Hilary Swank. I like Hilary Swank, but
I just hear that Kill Bill
Well, no, I think because it was those were. I mean, Hilary Swank was great in both those movies, but going into that night, everyone was like, "This is Annette Bening's night," and then Hilary Swank. But Yeah, no, absolutely. My number two is Brie Larson as Ma in Room. Just a phenomenal film, available on Canopy and Netflix. This is a film that she won an Academy Award for, about a young woman who has been kept in a bar, in a, sort of like a backyard tool shed, basically, by an abductor who she's fathered a child with. And the movie starts years later when the child, I don't know, age maybe 5 or 6, and played by Jacob Tremblay, and very similar to movies that you might kind of recall. Life is Beautiful, for example, where a parent has used world building to sort of mask the brutal, horrific reality of their child's reality sort of situation by sort of in this movie being very matter of fact about the world around them. So this is Room. This is where we are. That is, everything's got a name. They are able to watch television, but she sort of contextualizes the things that he's watching on television. And really you get this idea that if not for this child, she would literally have nothing to live for. But he keeps her going, and he keeps her alive, and he gives her a purpose and a reason to keep going and try to figure out how to be a good mother to him given these circumstances, and ultimately maybe how to get him out. The movie is very much a drama, but there are truly thrilling, like right out of, more intense than a thriller, labeled package thriller moments in this film that I do not want to give away or talk about. It really is a movie that's best to go right into. But Room, not to be confused with The Room, just putting it out there. If you're going to rent one, make sure, let me just put that right back on the screen so you can make sure. Yeah.
It's not worthy of recognition. Definitely has breast cancer.
Yes, and Room would not, this Room you're looking at here would not make a good midnight film where you throw spoons at the screen.
You would just cry and cry.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. The acting is phenomenal. The whole movie is just great. Laura says, Toni Collette as Lynn Sear in The Sixth Sense and Annie in Hereditary. I'll be honest with you, if I had thought of The Sixth Sense, it would have been on my list.
Yes, last scene with her.
What's that?
The scene in the car at the end.
Oh, with the bumblebee pendant.
The bumblebee pendant. My sister and I quote Toni Collette in The Sixth Sense all the time because she always is. M. Night Shyamalan dialogue is really weird. It's not really how people talk, and she uses. It's not like you've had enough dinner, go to room. It's like you've had enough roast beef, and it's where did you find the bumblebee pendant? And like she's just very specific with everything she says. Like, yeah, I just crack up. Yeah, the bumblebee pendant. Did you move the bumblebee pendant? Well, I couldn't find the bumblebee pendant. I'm like, he knows what you're talking about. Why do you keep saying bumblebee pendant over and over?
The scene where she makes up her day, like, in other words, like, how was your day? And she like lists a bunch of victories that didn't happen for her. And you're kind of like, what is she doing? And then you realize she's got to turn it over to him. Mm-hmm. And it gives him an opportunity to use his creativity and verbalize what a good day would look like for him. Because all she knows about this kid is he's got a major problem. He's depressed, who knows what, because he hasn't told her his secret, which we all know by now, I hope. So I just love that moment. And, she's like, I won the lot. I forgot what she says. Like, I did this and not that. And then he talks, what?
I won the lottery, quit my job, swam in a fountain, whatever.
Love it. And then his thing is all about acceptance. They lifted me up on their shoulders and he was embraced by friends. It's just such a great moment.
Triangle pancakes.
She's amazing. But that last scene, is just.
I cried.
Laura says, Room is a great pick. Absolutely loved Running. No, Rick, sorry. Room is a great pick. The way she talked about the sky, just, oh my God, that movie's just so great. Laura loved Running with Scissors. It's a great one. room is brilliant. Colin says the mom in the room is an amazing mom. In the room? Yeah. She is amazing. Absolutely. Oh my God. So Alex had asked earlier if a certain movie qualified. Tell us your number one.
Well, anyone who knows me will not be surprised by this pick because I talk about it all the time. It's my favorite movie. It's Anti-Mame, 1958. Yeah, it's another aunt as mom movie. So Mame Dennis is this very eccentric, fabulous hostess, all-around fun lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up becoming the caretaker of her nephew when his father drops dead. What are you doing,
Mommy's
girl?
talking.
She's driving me crazy. Yes. Look what I can do. Okay. Yes, she's standing on a chair. Okay, now she's my lap. Anyway, so she suddenly is in charge of her nephew, and he kind of just immediately gets drawn into her.
Go back.
I know that. Sorry.
It's okay.
She's like, how can I be as distracting as humanly possible right now? Anyway, yes, she's in charge of her nephew, and he just gets really drawn into her world of just fabulous and eccentric weirdos. And it's just sort of the movie is just his upbringing, and it's just really funny. She gets married, and then something happens with that, and she loses all her money when the stock market crashes. It's supposed to be in the 20s, I guess. It doesn't look 20s at all. But Rosalind Russell is so good in it. I just love everything she's in. She talks a mile a minute. She's very fun. What is she doing? What are you doing? And I just love that she's so passionate about everything. Who are you waving at? You're freaking me out. It's your own. Gosh. Okay. Quick side story. Lola has imaginary friends that are twins now, and so I feel like I'm in a horror movie, like the first scenes of a horror movie. So I don't like her waving at nothing.
Oh God.
A little scary. There's little devil horns.
The imaginary friend part is fine. It's the sudden turning and waving.
Well, she can see herself, so I feel better.
It's the kitchen window, but it's looking out on total darkness.
So it's her reflection she's waving at.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Salem's Lot.
No, God. Anyway.
Oh, man.
That was my number one talk up Lola. She has seen this movie, actually. We watched it on New Year's Eve this year. It's my favorite movie. It's really funny. I just love her spirit, her just joy of life. And, it goes up through Patrick, the nephew. He's a grown man, and she's just done everything she could for him. She's very a child, whatever. And then as soon as she has that first night with him, she's just, you see this maternal glowing love on her face, and she's just all right, it's all about him now. Just immediate love at first sight kind of a thing. And it gets us through to when he's a grown man, and he's kind of he's got this really stuffy trustee who's in charge of him.
Yeah.
Money and stuff. And so they've been trying to get him into this really snotty nouveau riche family, oh, you're gonna marry their daughter, and Maine's not on my watch. So it's just fun watching her work behind the scenes to she knows that Patrick wouldn't be happy in this life, and she's just doing everything she can for him in her own very crazy little way. Oh, child.
The American Cinematheque, along with Outfest, would play Anti-Mame almost every single year, if not every single year, as their big fundraiser with martinis, and that would be this huge thing. And every year, I would tell myself, this is the year I'm going. My friend Ina Parker Hicks, wherever you are, I think you're in Berlin now, love you, kept trying to get me to go with, and I just, getting up to LA just wasn't happening. And then here at the Frida, we ended up playing it with Men Alive Gay Men's Chorus. And I was like, this is I'm going to finally sit down and watch this film. That just doesn't happen for me at the Frida, unfortunately. I always end up wanting to talk and be out there. I have yet to see this film.
I don't want to overhype it, but it's a lot of fun.
I'm sure I'll love it. People just adore it when they talk about it. They talk about it with such passion. I just have not gotten around to it, but I will. Let's see. Audrey says Auntie Mame is great. Who wouldn't want an auntie like her? Yay, Rosalind Russell. Absolutely. Rick says there's a mirror. Yes. Alex says Lola is just adding the meta text of the demands of motherhood to this stream. Absolutely. Well phrased and so true. Rick says, now that's entertainment. Oh yeah, and Mama. Mama was a great one. Oh no, Mame. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying Mama was a controlling mom. Yes, she was in the horror film Mama. But he's saying Mame is a controlling mom?
I mean, if you want to look at it that way, I guess. Or maybe they're talking about the remake, the musical remake with Lucille Ball, which I've been told to stay away from. That was called Mame, but I don't know much about that one. But I wouldn't call Auntie Mame controlling. She's It's funny because I read the book Auntie Mame, and she's a lot more aggravating in that one because she's just she can be, and I wouldn't say controlling. She just like wants to do her thing, and she wants to help people in a way that she thinks they need to be helped, I guess. But no one's mad at her for long. She's lovable in her crazy ways. I got to see this one at the TCM Film Festival once. It was like 9 a.m, packed screening. Yeah. And everyone was just screaming and cheering whenever a new character would come into the movie. Like clearly beloved. It didn't sound like there were many first timers, but I remember Lola. I remember there was this big guy in front of me who just didn't seem like, being stereotypical, I guess. I'm like, didn't seem like he'd get much out of this. It's like this big, like, man's man, alpha male type, roaring with laughter, like wiping tears and stomping his feet at some, like, just pratfall type gag Rosalind Russell was doing. And I'm like, this is lovely. This movie's for everybody. But, yeah.
That might be a fun one to consider programming as one of the first matinees when we reopen, however we end up doing that.
My life, and I could bring Lola. We'd have a great time.
Could have what do you call it, mimosas, and make a whole day out of it. Yeah. Well, my number one is very much a controlling mom. My number one is Concha from Alejandro Jodorowsky's Santa Sangre from 1989. This is one of my favorite films ever. Certainly Jodorowsky's known for his earlier works, El Topo and The Holy Mountain, more often than not, as those two being his masterpieces. Pretty much every film this man has made is in its own way a masterpiece. It just so happens that Santa Sangre was the first Jodorowsky film I watched, and then caught up with his classics. Concha is played by Blanca Guerra. And this is one of those movies that is best just jumped into. That is how I watched it. I did not know about Jodorowsky. I didn't know about his style. I didn't know what genre the film was. I still don't know what genre this film is. Closest thing I could say about it is it's a horror film. But it's quite beautiful and brutal at the same time, which I can say pretty much about all of his films. It is at its surface about a young man who's in an insane asylum. We don't know why. And then very early on, the film goes into flashback to his youth at a circus, where he witnesses a very, very horrible thing. But at this circus, he lives with his mother. His mother runs a church near the circus that worships a saint that is not in any way, shape, or form a Catholic saint. It is a saint of her. We never know quite where she came up with this saint, but basically it is a young girl who was brutalized and murdered. She's turned into a saint. I don't want to say too much about it, especially because I got little beautiful Lola right in front of me. I don't want to give her nightmares tonight, but it's what's that? She's heard worse. Is that what you said?
She's not really listening.
Good. But
Probably bring it up in a week though. That's her way.
yeah, Santa Sangre is fantastic. It is a very, very much an art film. Roger Ebert, I think, put it in his top 10 list of that year. It's got a lot of a cult following. It is available on Fandor. It's a very unique movie-going experience. I don't know that there's many films like it. So, and Concha is quite a mother in this film, pretty much throughout the whole film. So, that was fun once again. Is she asleep?
She's getting there.
Getting there.
Oh, there she. Oh, he's smiling.
She's like, I faked you out.
What?
She's sleep like 3 hours ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is 10:40, and as always, we just love for those of you we love talking film. I think that's just what you can get out of this. This time around, I don't know if you noticed, we started the list early. We're still ending right around the time that we usually end. So, which is fine by me. I love talking to you. Giselle says Santa Sangre is nuts in the best ways. Surreal drama more than horror, definitely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that you would probably find it in the horror category of your video store, but it is definitely more of a character psychological piece. Just quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you as always for being on.
Thank you for having us back.
And Becca'lise, happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Yeah, I was gonna say to all the moms on the list, to all of their moms, happy Mother's Day to all of you. We got and by the way, as I pulled this up as my Mother's Day meme, it occurred to me that Abuelita would have certainly made a great mother. Coco, obviously, would have been a wonderful mother to include in the list. Just because look at that face. And who doesn't get teary-eyed at the end of this film? Such a beautiful movie. But yes, happy Mother's Day to everyone. Again, we wish we could be with all of you. Please be safe out there. Please know we're thinking about you. I know it's not going to be the easiest Mother's Day for a lot of people, but the love is there. We love you. We are thinking about you. If we are maintaining a distance, it is because we want you to be well. We want to be good kids, and you know, if you do, moms get itchy and decide to go out or whatever you do, please be safe. We love you all. Let's see, Alex, really quickly, any last minute things before we let our guests go? Catherine Scorsese and Goodfellas, make sure those boys get their spaghetti and meatballs after some midnight murder. Yes, she does. I believe they borrow her shovel too, right? And her knife.
For the deer, it's got its hoof in the
I love that scene. That is such a great scene. Happy Mother's Day from Giselle. Thanks to you, Lola, too. Happy Mother's Day from Elias, and loved Coco from Audrey. Coco's a beautiful film. All right, you three. Lola, it was so great to see you as always. Thanks for being part of the show.
So tired. Go to sleep.
Aw. All right, everyone. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. You can hit subscribe on this thread. Give the show a like if you liked it. It helps it trend. And we'll talk to Craig and Becca about coming on again. And Hedwig's mother, Laura, another one, absolutely. Hedwig's mother, the great Alberta Watson, if memory serves, great Canadian actress. That's a great one. Yeah, keep the mothers coming too. Feel free. I think you can comment after the fact. But otherwise, thank you. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. And thank you. Love you too. Take care, Lola. Have a good sleep tight. Bye.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Have a very good night.